All right. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Bear with me. I'm trying to access everything here. I hope everyone's having a good afternoon. I had a very good morning. I actually went to see the movie Sinners. Um, I've been looking forward to seeing this, and it is a wonderful movie. Um, what can I say? Ryan Coogler, he did a wonderful job, and I loved him on both of the Black Panther films. But I said it on the first one that he did not just a wonderful Marvel movie, not just a wonderful Black life inspired movie or Black actor inspired movie. He did a wonderful movie. It had elements of movies and genres that all of us love, and he shows a love of cinematic culture, and it shows in what he does. I mean, you had elements in the original Black Panther of spy genre, of the action, of comedy, drama, all of that. And it's just amazing to see that he carried that over into Sinners. It stands up there as a really, really good horror movie, but it has excellent elements of a whole, I guess, a history or almost like a mythology that he built around this world that he's building. And I find myself interested at the little nuances that he hints at, and he doesn't let you. He lets you figure it out on your own, but you get to see why they're able to do some of the things that they're doing. He answers the questions that you usually have lingering in some of these movies, and he leaves you wanting more. You start asking and filling in the blanks, which I think a lot of old time creators and movie directors would do. Is they let you fill in the blanks so that they know, despite all of the CGI and special effects, let your mind wander to where you want it to go, and they'll fill in the blanks. And that's what just he did a wonderful job on. And I have to say, I've always been impressed with Michael B. Jordan's performance. I've always loved Delroy Lindo, um, but it's really, I really enjoyed this movie. So um, I do want to try and get my wife to go see it with me next time. Enjoyed this movie, so um, I do want to try and get my wife. Sorry for that delay. I'm trying to watch what's happening so I could see if there's any chats in there. So again, really good movie. And I think one of the things that I was reading about it that kind of made me inspired. Remember, this is Theo Michael Talks Inspiration today. Uh, one of the things that inspired me to want to watch this movie was the fact that he talked about some of the music that he was inspired by to write this movie, and this is something that I really enjoyed. Um, you hear a lot of things. You hear things about different movies and everything, but every movie has a connection with the music or the soundtrack that it goes with, whether it's the thematic soundtracks like what John Williams does for Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and all, and E.T. and so forth, and Jaws, but also sometimes using the music from the different cultures and different eras to really play upon the emotions of the people that are watching the show. And I just think he really has a good grasp for that. And I think that's his collaborator um, that's working with him. I don't want to mispronounce his name, but he worked with him on Black Panther, and he just did a wonderful job. And all my uh, multimedia devices are in use right now, so I can't Google it to see. I didn't plug in my computer. But again, I think it's Ludwig. I can't think his name, but he really did a great job. Um, I can't sing praises for this movie enough. Would advise anyone to go see it. If you liked Black Panther, you will enjoy it. It is adult centered, so there's a lot of adult themes of sex and violence and alcohol. but it is something that I think is a wonderful movie to go check out for adults. Um, just because of some of the sexual themes and some of the scary themes, under 13 probably wouldn't like it or wouldn't be advised. Now, onward with other inspiration. So his inspiration was a song that you hear playing in the background in the beginning of the movie. And it is a song from Old Blues record, and he was listening to the song and picturing what they were describing in the song, and that's where he came up with the idea for the movie, which I thought was ingenious and wonderful, because I've often have had that, and I've always wanted to do different things, and I'll tell you one of my early inspirations. In fact, I literally totally forgot about it till recently, um, when I was working on trying to figure out what type of comic sheets or stuff like that. I remember in junior high school was the one time that I shared my art with other people. And I want you to understand, I did not show my art around. I used to just draw all the time, but most of the time it was at home. And I never really wanted to share it with too many people. I was embarrassed, and I never thought my art was good enough. But there was this one time in junior high school, I took an art class, and I ended up getting booted out because I kept drawing comic books all the time and I wasn't following the curriculum. And so I ended up going to band. But in that class, I met some people that did like drawing and art and cartoons, comic books. And a friend of mine was working on a commission page. I can't remember his name at this time. I've never seen him after junior high school. I just remember him and I getting along and talking about it at that time. And I remember he put together a page, an 8.5 by 11 page, and he used a song from the radio. And he, back then we didn't always get all the lyrics, so we had to listen to the radio to find the lyrics and tape it and stop and rewind and all that stuff with our fingers. Imagine that. And he did it based on Let's Go Crazy, and with the whole Dearly Beloved spot. And I just remember it was the scene where he had a kind of like the secret agent character that just put on the headphones, and then he started doing all the action sequence, and the only words were the song, were the lyrics to the song. And I thought that was pretty cool. And that was interesting. And I've always wanted to do something like that. And I do have a couple songs. I don't want to blurt them out because I haven't put them out in paper yet, but there are some things I want to go through. And I always realize how some of the music, or how some of the movies, the music really sets the tone. And if you've seen anything from my marker's getting stuck here. Anything from Tarantino, from his Pulp Fiction onward, he really plays, the music plays a big part in the role. Anything you've seen from oh goodness, I'm blanking out on names, but from the director of the Guardians and the upcoming Superman, he plays a lot with the music too. So it does play a big role, and it just really sets the tone. And I think a lot of times it's almost like music, art, that creative spirit is a form of magic, and it could touch the soul. A lyric or a soundtrack or music or tone sets, it can take you back in time to a point where you were when you heard that music. And it could touch your soul. It can heal it. It can make it feel better. And I think that was the kind of idea he was forming when he wrote this story. Um, so again, Sinners was excellent. And when I think of what inspires me, I have a lot of different inspirations. And I was talking about this when I was in New Jersey and speaking with Mark McKenna. A lot of people will tend to say, "Oh yeah, I was self-taught or something like that." Not to say that it doesn't take a lot of self-determination and self-discipline. You play a lot in being an artist and setting the tone for how you do your work, how you get it finished, how you process it, how you space your time. Then you have to take into account that no one lives in an island or in a bubble. So you're always going to have influences. I can look and gather reference material, and similar to what's going on with AI right now, you have artists that used to just swipe, that would take a certain pose or a certain uh, design of a person and just copy it. In fact, many times artists were asked to ape a style so that they can work on a page or make a correction or finish a project that's way overdue, and they were hoping that the customer wouldn't know the difference, to the point where I don't know if there was ever a house style per se, but you could tell if you were working on a John Byrne book and or something like that, and then you do a fill in. They were looking for someone that had that kind of sensibilities, or the inkers would be used to try to reshape those sensibilities so that it kind of matches the work. It's only later, when it's been around for a while, but it's only later that it allowed artists to have more prominence of individuality and style. I think for me, when I first noticed it was in the indie books, when I saw the edgy style for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, when I saw um, Michael Bendis when he did Powers, that was a real striking style. And for a Marvel head like me, who was like, "Whoa, what is this?" It was unrefined. It was angular. It was weird, but it really did um, strike me as, "Oh wow, this is pretty interesting." And I loved the book because it had such interesting themes. And it was that independent book that then led for him to get work at Marvel. And, the rest is history. Um, so you have that inspiration from what's come before. You have that inspiration around you, but you also learn from it. I mean, if I'm drawing or anything, my style is a combination of the 80s, 90s style, more of the 80s burnish, burn slash Mike Zack type of style, I think. And I know that a lot of artists, hey, that's my style, or that's a Michael original or whatever. I, I'm still learning. I'm not a professional, but you can see that in my work. And all these here are original sketches that I did. And then what I do is I look on the pictures of what's come before to kind of get references for costumes and things like that. One of the things, and you can see here, I kind of set up the character and how I want them posed and everything, or what I'm doing, and then I fill them in from there. And this sheet I'm working on is a inspiration from what I was working on the other day, which was, I started this sketch talking about the young versions, and then I started doing young versions of the superheroes, and from there started thinking about Peter Parker as my hero, and I thought of this wonderful rogues gallery that he has. And yes, I do think that J. Jonah Jameson, while he is a friend to Peter, he is the rogue to Spider-Man. he has always been a big thorn in Spider-Man's side. He's mellowed over the years, but in the beginning of the years of the books, he did try to meet with Smythe and support and funded the Spider Slayers. And I know that if I remember correctly, in that storyline, he kind of got duped into what he was doing. He kind of backed up. But again, this guy is one of the biggest menaces Spider-Man faces. But when he was faced with different things, or somebody threatened him to get information on whether Peter was involved with something or anything, he always said, "I don't know who he is," or give him up. Even in the movie, they did that. I loved how they played with that, and Sam Raimi did good with that. He really got him and what's his name, J.K. Simmons, really got the characterization of J. Jonah Jameson down perfectly. So one of the other things is, one of my inspirations, I have a lot of different inspirations. I have comic artists. I have my family, my friends that inspire me. I have my mentors, the teachers that I've come across, the people that I've learned from, my elders. And I've learned everywhere along the way. Sometimes it's about art, sometimes it's about life, but it all comes back to my art. What I've learned always comes back into my art. And I wanted to take time to recognize some of those people and think. So somebody who really made a big difference in recent years is Dave Wheeler, Dave Wonder, over on the Dave Wonder channel. And he's a big Spider-Man fan. So I was just, him and I were talking the other day, and I was thinking about how people really make a difference. And there's people that are in your lives directly, and there's people that do it indirectly. I don't consider myself self-taught, because I ask questions and I learn from those that have come before, and I realize their path. I do self-motivate a lot, but I also hold myself back. There's always something that I'm missing, or there's something that I'm not ready for, or whatever. And that's one of the things that I feel has kept me from moving forward. I understand that. It's taken me years to realize that, and I'm trying to adjust to it. So I always think about it, and I deal with that with my son, who's an artist, and kind of he's afraid to show his art. And he'll say he's not, but it's kind of like he holds that back. He wants, ooh, that's real dark. He wants to make sure it's perfect. And that's one of the things, sometimes I tell him, you got to be just finished. Not necessarily all of it is done to your perfection level, but the project has to be done. And then you move on. But one of the things I've learned is that I pick up from everybody. So by asking questions, by copying, by looking at how someone does a pose, it helps me learn. So I can't say I'm self-taught, because I'm learning. And I try to pick people that I admire, or that their style really inspires or makes me want to buy more. And I said, well, if I want to sell my art, if I want to be in the business, then I need to find out who's selling the most, who's inspiring people to buy and spend money on these things, and follow what they're doing and kind of understand. And it's not just the topographical style as far as how they draw, but it's also how they tell a story. And that's one thing that I'm learning and working on. I'm trying, even with these faces, I'm trying to find a way to tell a story. For example, this panel here is screaming, "I want pictures of Spider-Man!" He's even got the cigar popping out of his mouth. And that's what I wanted to convey. And I hope that it does. To me, it does. You let me know what you think. This panel here, you could see the craziness, but not just insanity, but he's sly. He's thinking something through, and he's going to cause a whole mess of trouble for you, even though he looks weird with those big ears. Here, you see the subtle menace of Dr. Octopus. One of the things I put here on the cup, I don't know if you could see it, is it says superior spider foe. And in a little nod to the Superior Spider-Man, and where, spoiler alert, he kills Peter Parker and takes over, moves his mind into Peter Parker's body, and he becomes Spider-Man. And what's kind of funny, and this was a very controversial storyline by Dan Slott, the Superior Spider-Man storyline, and had some wonderful art. I know that Angel Medina did some art on it. I know Mike Hawthorne did some art with it, the Superior Spider-Man line. One of my favorite artists, Mike Hawthorne. But Doc Ock actually succeeded where Peter Parker didn't, completing his degree, doing some stuff, making money out of his powers. And in turn, the Doc Octopus character became softened and kind of learned that with great power came great responsibility. And it was a really, really well thought out, wonderful storyline. Caused a lot of headaches at first, but to me, it came out really good, which is daring. But again, he's just kind of blowing the coffee, not acting like nonchalant, but I'm not finished with this one here, but you have one arm holding the coffee, so he's not even using his own hands. And then you're going to have one octopus limb coming up here and one just kind of the hand showing through there. So you have always the impending sense of doom. Kraven, this movie came out. Let me tell you something. That Kraven movie by Sony was insane. It was a good popcorn fun movie, but you could tell it was all patchwork and everything. It really didn't have, it had some elements of Kraven, but it just kind of just threw it in there, and it doesn't have any consistent storyline to really give you an idea. But if it didn't have anything to do with Spider-Man or Kraven, it just was an action movie on its own, it would have been a lot better. I like that action part of it, but I wanted the old Kravinoff kind of, he's bougie and very aristocratic, so he's looking down. Even on the other criminals, he looks down on them. And even though he's, the reason I think Doc Ock was so nonchalant is he's one of the only villains, especially early on in Spider-Man's career, he won. He defeated Spider-Man and almost made him quit. And I think it was the Human Torch who gave him a pep talk and made him go back and fight. So again, all these, I'm trying to learn storytelling just in that picture and just with the faces. I'm trying to also apply more storytelling, because I think a lot of storytellers, George Perez, Bob McLeod, Larry Hama. What I love about Larry Hama, he's a artist, an actor, and a editor, and he kind of acts through when he does his stuff, and then he does these layouts to kind of say, this is what I'm looking to do with the characters and everything, and then the artists go and build on them and go through, and it just really is a refreshing take on it, because he uses all of his skills of acting to give the position and where he wants to go through. And again, on his layouts, sometimes on his layouts, they're really in depth and everything, but a lot of times they're pretty loose to give the artist a chance to build on it themselves. And they take it they push it to the max, especially when you see Andy or Adam Kubert did wonderful with his, and Silvestri did wonderful on the Wolverine series that he was on. So there's a lot of different people that inspire me. It's one of those things that somebody can inspire you with their work, somebody can inspire you with their kindness. And I think that's something that I always try to emulate and try to reciprocate when it says there's so many artists Ken Lashley, Chris Cross, Jimmy Palmiotti, and Amanda Connor. They were so nice. When you go to conventions and everything, they really spend the time to talk to you and really build up that relationship with their fans, and that's always good. And then a lot of times when you build those relations, Frank Thierry, fucking Frank Thierry, excuse my language. But every time I see him, we have a thing. Every year he comes to MegaCon, I got to take a picture of him where me and him are flipping off the camera. And I think it was last year or this year, one of the years, I was really feeling down and said, "Oh, I wasn't even sure I was going to make it." And he says, "Hey, come on, just do the picture. You know, that's when you got to do it even more." So I appreciate him for that. There's a lot of people out there, and you don't realize how somebody just one day talking with you or interacting with you really can make your day and inspire you and make you go forward or help take you out of the drums, the dumps. My wife and my son, very big inspirations. The fact that I was able to go to New Jersey and follow my dream and actually see the Kubert School. The fact that my wife's encouraging me to follow my dream with comic books. It's always something, you need a partner who understands you and is willing to back you up. And the same thing, I have to do the same for her. So there's a lot of inspiration. So I guess I'm going to leave you now with the challenge. How can you inspire someone? And think about the people. Be the person that helped inspire you. Be the person that you wanted to be around when you needed to be inspired. And with that, I leave you peace, love, and see you in the comic pages.